Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to show how you can make your own FPV drone, which I made myself as a beginner. It's my first beginner drone, and how you can do that too. Now, starting with the components, we first have a flight controller. So the flight controller, it's a stack flight controller which is called Speedybee F4 with 50 ampere ESC, and it is the main brain of the drone, and it pretty much does everything in the drone, from connecting the videos VTX to balancing the drone. And it's a pretty good flight controller which comes at a good price point as a beginner. Now after the flight controller there comes the motor, and for this build I am specifically using Zinc 2 22072755 kV brushless DC motor, which is a quite good DC motor at the price point. With that, we're using CMOS 1500 TVL mini FPV camera and TS832 VTX video transmitter, which would be used to transfer a video to our FPV goggles or the display. With that, we have QAV 250 FPV frame. So firstly, we can screw up our flight controller with the screws of the flight controller which we get with it, and later we will move on to the soldering. Now I'm not too good at soldering, but that's the best I could have done. And after soldering the camera and then the VTX to the flight controller as per the diagram you can see right here, you can move on to connecting the motors with the ESC. Now I prefer to solder ESC by soldering the plate of the ESC first, then later you can cut down the wires and directly solder them onto the pads. So yeah, that's how I do it. And you can also connect the XC60 connector and the capacitor present in the back of flight controller with the ESC itself, and later we can connect the motors to it. And after soldering, this is how your connection would probably look like. Now you can go ahead and connect the wires of each of the motor to the soldered pads of the ESC, and just connect it to the three pads of the end, and direction doesn't matter. Now once everything is fit properly, you can go ahead and close the frame and check whether your motors are working properly or not by connecting to the Betaflight configurator. Now just make sure that you have binded your transmitter with your receiver so that we can move ahead with the process of programming it, or basically setting it up through the Betaflight configurator so that we have calibrated it properly for the purpose of flying. So once you've connected the Speedybee with the wire to your laptop or computer, you can open the Betaflight configurator, and now just click on connect once you have it on the port. Now after getting it on the port, you can see it has calibrate, accelerometer, magnometer. So you can go ahead and calibrate it by keeping it on a completely plain surface which is completely on level. So now once you move the drone, actually it would be moving on the computer or laptop screen actually. Now you can move ahead to receivers and make sure the receiver and the transmitter are connected. So once you power up your transmitter, it will show the values, change in values on the screen as you can see. Now make sure these all are correct. If they're not, you can go ahead and trim that down So the default readings are here, as you can see, and you can set up the auxiliary pins however you want to use them. So make sure it's fine and go ahead to modes. Now you can set whatever key you want. I have the aux 3 for arm, so whenever I go through aux 3, it arms my drone. Similarly, so I'm using flight mode angle, which I recommend for beginners, and I'm just a beginner, so you can go for angle mode. So whenever you change anything, nothing's gonna happen as we've selected the whole thing. So actually, yeah, so it keeps your flight mode fixed to angle. Now go make sure you save the change over here. Just click save and the changes will be saved. And for checking your motors, make sure you remove the propellers, and you can then just click over this and increase the rotation speed of the motors in order to identify whether the motor is working or not. Now you can check the direction of your motors over here in the same sequence as per the direction of the forward: first motor, second motor, third motor, and fourth motor. And the motors in the opposite direction would have the same direction of propellers and same direction of motor rotation, right? So you can set up a OSD if you have an FPV camera. So I have this set up. So you can just click on all three if you want any of this visible on the display, and move it down to whatever grid you want. So that's how you do it. Now you can set the VTX, black box, or also use the CLI mode. Now once all is done, we can finally connect the VTX and the FPV goggle on the same channel so that we get the camera footage, and it's time for some test flight.